Hey everyone, welcome to the visual guide for the Dancing Plague Extreme. This raid is one of two extreme trials that came along with the 5.0 patch in Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers. Now this is going to be this channel's first ever visual guide, so please bear with us as we'll be covering the mechanics, while giving you all the hints, tips and methods needed to beat this new primal, Titania. Okay, so let's get everything started. Now, the weight markers should be placed within the intercardinal corners. You can place markers 1 and 2 on the west and east sides of the circle arena. Now that these way marks are placed, players should now assign a cardinal direction for Mist Rune and stack on markers 1 and 2 for Flame Rune. Healers should be positioned at point A and B, the main tank will be up north, and the off tank will be on the west side. Now the melee DPS can take the east and south areas, while the ranged DPS can position themselves at C and D. Make sure to split the group for markers 1 and 2, each having 1 tank, 1 healer with 2 DPS. With that done, it's now time to start marking players for tethers, starting with the off tank. The rest can be healers or DPS until a total of 6 players are assigned. Bright Sabbath. This is a raid-wide AoE that deals damage to all players. Phantom Rune. This is where Titania will cast either a donut-like AoE, which requires you to get inside of it, or a circle AoE around her, which you need to get away from. Failure to do the mechanic correctly will result in a hysteria and a vulnerable stat. Mist Rune. Here is where Titania will spawn 8 water puddles, 4 in cardinal directions and the other 4 within the intercardinal areas. You should now stand in them until the 10 orb timer is complete. Flame Rune. Here is where Titania spawns a giant flame fist that targets 2 healers with a stack marker. Be sure to split into the 2 groups that you assigned earlier. Failure to complete this task will cause a fire vulnerable and you will most likely die from the damage. Divination Rune. This is a cone-shaped tank-busting move that requires the party to stand behind the boss to avoid the damage, while the main tank pops mitigation in order to avoid a high amount of damage. Furthermore, let it be known that the damage from this attack cannot be reduced with sheer damage. Chain of Brambles. Now this is where things can get a little bit tricky. This attack will create a vine that will have tanks and healers tethered to the DPS. In order to break these, players must move away from each other. You must give yourself enough space to spread apart, so it is recommended to start in the center and then move tanks and healers to one corner while the DPS move to the opposite corner. As for tips, if you are holding the tether for too long, you will begin to receive vulnerable stacks, so be vigilant and quick. Furthermore, it's highly advised that you don't move early because the vines will not break immediately, so you will need to stay close together before spreading out. Okay, we're almost done with the first phase. But she's going to cast one more Phantom Rune, and just like before, if it is a donut AoE, make sure you go inside of it, and if it is a circle AoE around her, you have to get away from her. So far so good, but now Titania will cast Midsummer Nights, which will take us on to the next phase. Thunder Rune. A tether will attach to a random player and targets them with an AoE that inflicts lightning resistance down. 2 hits from this attack will result in an instant death, so in order to survive, the tether must be passed to another player 6 times. In order to pass the tether to another player, you must run in front of the player that is already tethered in order to take their spot within the electric AoE circle. That way, all 6 designated players will tank 1 hit each and avoid getting killed. So here's a quick tip. It is possible for tanks to soak more than 1 hit of this attack. Fey Light. This is a hard hitting tank buster attack that cleaves 3 times. You can choose to soak the damage with another tank, or you can mitigate the first hit and invul the second and third cleave. Growth Rune. For this section of the fight, Titania will summon a purple star-shaped vine. Be sure to look at the edges of where they spawn. Stack and break the vine tether accordingly in a similar fashion to how Chain of Brambles was done, and move to a safe area where the vines aren't growing to avoid the debuffs. Getting Caught will inflict bind and a potent bleed while also gaining a vulnerable stack debuff. Divination Rune. Titania will cast another cone-shaped tank buster. Be sure to pop mitigations as necessary. Frost Rune. Here Titania summons large AoE circles starting in the center and covers the entire map in sequence. Make sure to bait the circle and go in after the last AoE spawns. Uplift. AoE markers will spawn on all players. Be sure to spread these apart. The party must spread out to avoid the risk of anyone getting hit twice. Phantom Rune. Titania will cast a donut AoE which you get inside. Titania will have a cast bar now called Titania's Power. If this is filled up to 100%, it will result in an automatic wipe. This is the add phase. Mustard Seed, Peas Blossom and Puck will spawn in mini form. The main tank should pick up Puck, while the off tank picks up Peas Blossom. The kill order should be Mustard, Puck, Peas Blossom. In addition to that, Puck will cast Pummel, which is a tank buster, and blunt resistance down. This is why it needs to die second, as too many stacks will be unsurvivable by the tank. Peas Bomb will mark 4 random players with AoE markers. Be sure to spread out to avoid any extra damage. Heavy Swing is a tank buster from Peas Blossom. Not a major threat, but still be careful. Now let's not forget Mustard Seed. This add casts Leaf Storm, which creates a conal AoE that targets random players, so you have to have room to get in between and dodge them. Up next is the Giant Add phase. The Giant Add phase, the kill order should repeat with Mustard, Puck, Peas Blossom. Tanks will want to aggro the same enemies. Make sure to dodge AoEs and spread apart again from the previous phase. After that, get ready to stack and share Puck's breath. The add will cast Whispering Wind and healers should heal the damage taken. Next we'll have the Vine knockback phase. Vines will spawn north and south. Make sure to get in position to get knockback from the circle AoE. The knockback will break the vine tether into your corner positions. Healers and tanks should go to A or B and DPS should go to C or D. The vine can alternate, so be sure to adjust. As for tips, don't stand in the circle AoE or you will die, and furthermore, if tethers aren't breaking because of a missed position, one player can die saving the other from more vulnerable stacks. Stack and AoE markers. To make this simple, 2 random players will be marked with giant AoE circles. Be sure to get out of the center. A random player will get a stack marker and should move to the center of the stage with everyone to share the damage. Titania will cast Being Mortal that should be shielded or mitigated through. Mist Rune and Phantom Rune bait. For this section of the fight, Titania will cast Mist Rune and Phantom Rune. You want to do a Phantom Rune and then run to the water puddles positions. Failure will cause an add to spawn and if not killed, will make all water puddles disappear. Growth Rune and Flame Rune. For this section of the fight, Growth Rune will spawn in cardinal directions. Make sure to stand in your 1 and 2 markers accordingly. If growth spawns from east or west, rotate clockwise. If growth spawns from north or south, stay in the same position. From here on in, all the mechanics will start repeating, starting with Phantom Rune. Then it will go on to Bright Sabbath, Fade Light, Frost Rune, Uplift, Bright Sabbath, Thunder Rune, Growth Rune, Chain of Brambles, Phantom Rune once again, Bright Sabbath, Divination Rune, and Bright Sabbath Enrage. The last Bright Sabbath that Titania casts will cause an Enrage. If this happens, it will result in a wipe. And with all of that done, congratulations, you have just defeated Titania Extreme. That'll be all there is to it. Thanks for watching, and see you again soon.